If you're gonna catch this week's species, you're gonna have to get up early or fish very late in the day. These fish love to feed in low light conditions with their big eyes. They can see your leader and your hook. Tonight it's all about the tuna here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back for another week of fantastic fishing as we're quickly approaching summertime. Rick, we're talking all things tuna today, which is great for all of us who love a good fight and a good sushi roll.
Yes, and you know what? I know that you like having the sushi in your mouth. I mean, we've had this conversation a million times. The cool part about Florida is on both coasts, including the Florida Keys. We've got blackfin tunas, occasional yellowfin tunas, and then you get the big guys during the spring migrating through. So that's going to be a good show. It's
a good place to be. All right, let's say hi to Dave Farrell at the CCA Workbench. How you feeling about tuna today, Dave?
You know, my favorite tuna fish is like a 15-pound yellowfin, and I'm using a bent butt 80 in a chair. And I can skip him right to the boat because tuna don't stop fighting. They're incredibly strong fish, and they will wear you out.
They will. Yeah. They've worn me out a few times, I can say that. But you know what? We have the tuna catching and sushi making master, who happens to be our captain in the Dynapack Southeast region in the studio today, none other than Captain Jimbo Thomas. How you doing today, Jimbo?
I'm great, Brie. How are you?
I'm good. We've caught a few tunas together.
We have.
All right. Well, you're here to do your report, so report on.
You got it. So here in the Southeast region, the two types of tuna that we mainly catch are blackfin and yellowfin. And unfortunately, we don't see too many yellowfins. In February and March, there's usually some big bluefin sightings, but they're usually not targeted. Now, the blackfin, they are the most common. We catch them throughout the year, but late April through mid-July is when we catch the most and the biggest blackfins. We generally get blackfin bites throughout the day, but since tunas are low light feeders, early in the morning, then late in the afternoon until dark are typically the best times to target them, as well as on overcast days. Now, in the last week, the blackfin bite has been all right. Last week they were on fire, but this week it's not been as good, maybe due to the upcoming full moon. But either way, we've been catching them on live herrings, pilchards, and sardines, fishing them under the kite or on flat lines, and we've been fishing in the 100 to 200 foot range. And on the Thomas Flyer, we like to use 20-pound tackle with 30 to 40-pound fluoro leaders, 5/0 to 6/0 circle hooks. And if you can catch enough bait to live chum with, that'll definitely help get those tunas up. Now, there's also been a few blackfins caught on the troll, fishing with small lures, feathers, and rig baits, but the fish on the live baits are definitely much larger. Now, I got a couple photos here. This first photo is Jane Thomas, Master Angler Jane, with a 30-pound plus blackfin that she caught last week off of Fowey Light. And now this second photo here is that said tuna after Master Sushi Chef, that would be myself, did some food art.
The best looking food art I've seen in a while.
What else you got for us this week offshore?
The action on the edge of the Gulf Stream has been pretty consistent with kingfish and the blackfin tunas and the occasional sail and dolphin. We've been seeing some green water in the last week, but it didn't really seem to make much of a difference in the bite. We've been fishing with live herrings and pilchards and sardines, 120 to 180 feet of water, fishing them out of the riggers or on the kites. Also, it's a good idea to drop a live bait down just in case you drift over a hungry grouper or mutton snapper. And also chumming with live pilchards will definitely help to get the bite going. And fishing early in the morning or late into the afternoon is when we've been experiencing the best bite. Now, moving inshore, tarpon action has been really good throughout the region. All of the inlets and their adjacent beaches have been alive with tarpon up to 100 pounds or bigger. In the north end of the region, a live mullet is the preferred bait. To the south end, live crabs top the menu. Now, tide hasn't been much of a factor when you're fishing the inlet, just so long as you got some moving water. Then all of the bridges of the ICW have also been holding tarpon. They've been feeding on both live crabs and live bait, mullet, pinfish, whatever you got. The bridges have been best at night, fishing in the shadow lines on the outgoing tide. The inlets have been best in the early mornings and into the evenings. And then on the south end of the flats of the south end of the region, been seeing some really good permit fishing. Now with the upcoming full moon, we've been experiencing some really extreme low and high tides, and the fish have been favoring the outgoing tide. Look for hard bottom flats with lots of moving water between Caesars and Broad Creeks. Most of the fish have been swimming or cruising versus tailing, and a live crab placed in their path will usually attract a bite, or you can try a crab pattern fly as well. Now, since this is mostly sight fishing, wait for the sun to come up to get some really good visibility. And there's an overcast condition, try working over the light colored bottom. And most of these permit have been in the 12 to 25 pound range.
Well, Jimbo, thank you for coming in tonight. We appreciate you guys, you and Dave, giving us all your tuna secrets that you have on the Thomas Flyer.
All of them.
All of them.
That won't
Leave a
take
single
long.
one. It's good to see you in here, bud. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the southeast region. Jimbo says that inshore, drift live shrimp or crabs throughout the inlet for early morning and evening tarpon. And then offshore, drift or kite fish, live baits in 90 to 300 feet of water for sailfish, kingfish, blackfin tunas, and the occasional mahi. Now, Jimbo, you know, one of my good friends, Chase Vonador, Ridge's best friend, he caught a really big swordfish, and I thought it'd be really cool to say congratulations, Chase. 522-pounder that they weighed in at Ocean Reef. They started fishing down south, and by the time they ended up catching him, as you can tell there, they didn't get him all the way hoisted up. They still have part of his bill, but this fish was in the 520 to 550 pound range. That's a really good one.
He's
don't you think?
definitely full grown.
Yeah,
That's
full grown.
amazing.
Congratulations, Chase.
Go Chase!
And the
That's
team
so cool.
on the Wasabi boat.
Awesome. Well, we're going to mosey on over to the Discover Crystal River Northwest region and see where the feeding frenzies are happening with Captain Jeff Hageman. Go for it, Hag.
I can attest to Jimbo's sushi skills from Guatemala.
Sushi?
Awesome plate of sushi for us.
Yes, sir. He knows.
Yes, he does. Tuna right now, it's time to be out here is right now. Blackfins are what we mostly have. We get the occasional yellowfin, but you're going to have to get out there to catch them. 80 feet plus. Look for birds, bait, especially frigate birds when you get out there. They can be caught behind the shrimp boats first thing in the morning when they're dumping their bycatch. And you're going to have to weed through a little bit of bonitas and sharks sometimes, but blackfins usually will be in there behind the shrimp boats. We also get them on high relief structures. They'll hold them really well. You can get over the structures and chum heavy with sardines and thread fins and bring them up to the back of the boat and keep them fired up. As far as artificials go, butterfly jigs over those reefs and wrecks work really good and can produce a lot of good fish. Now, the yellowfins, you're going to have to get out, like I said, a lot farther and trolling naked ballyhoo, big lip plugs, cedar plugs, and tremblers will all work. And I got a photo here of our typical size blackfin. We catch them a little bit bigger than average here in our region.
I love the fact that you're catching that out of a bay boat. It's so awesome. All right, tell us about the permit, Papa.
The permit bite right now is going off over the reefs and wrecks right now in 35 to 60 feet of water. It's been good in the middle of the week, first thing in the morning, before that boat traffic gets on those reefs and wrecks and have people out there snapper fishing and grouper fishing. So if you can get out there early or get out there late, you can catch these fish pretty good, and they'll be schooled up over top of those reefs and wrecks. Right now, we've got a moon, and in all the passes, Egmont, Pass of Grill, Blinds Pass, Johns Pass, you'll have crabs moving out on this moon coming up. So you can get plenty of bait, just go out in the afternoon and dipping up crabs. You want to use 6 feet of 25 to 30 pound fluorocarbon leader, 4-aught Trocars circle hook. Free lined over those wrecks has been producing some 15 to 30 pound permit right now.
Nice. All right, what do you got for us offshore, bud?
Moving inshore.
Inshore, sorry.
Captain Bobby Brady out of Stein Hatchery reports a lot of floating grass right now with all this wind we've been having. It's making it a little tough to throw some topwater plugs. So they switched over to soft plastics and using like a weighted 5-aught weedless hook on a jerkbait and pink and greens for the redfish right now near the shoreline. And I got a photo of a nice Steinhatchee redfish.
Oh,
All right,
that's
a little
too
sassy
cute.
chassis
That's
there,
super
dude.
sassy. Nice
All right,
pose,
what
girl.
else you got for us?
Captain Bobby also reports the larger trout right now are staying shallow. The smaller schooling fish are in about 3 to 4 foot of water. Live shrimp under a cork has been the best option for them. And then Captain Lee out of St. Joe Bay reports the big trout right now, and there's plenty of them, soft plastic, imitating shrimp. Using it under a popping cork with 14 inches of leader has been most effective, even over live bait right now, live elvives or sardines and pinfish. But if you're using live bait, you're going to have to battle a little bit with the sharks and the catfish right now. But if you get those artificial baits out right now, he said you'll kind of diminish the bites on the sharks and the catfish. So break out those artificials and you can catch a lot of nice trout. And I got a photo here from Captain Lee of a beautiful St. Joe trout.
All
Love
right.
all these kiddos, Hag.
All right, good
Yeah.
report
Looking
there,
good.
Hagalicious. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Ozella Key Marina hotspots from the Northeast region. He says, listen, inshore, snook bite in the lower part of the region. On the outgoing tide, use an R&R tackle sabiki rig to catch pinfish and sardines, and then free line them on a 5/0 Eagle Claw circle hook. And then offshore, mangrove snappers in 30 to 70 feet of water over the high relief structures. Use a hookup and a tail hook jumbo shrimp or sardine for the bait.
All right, well, the Sea Sucker Panhandle region has a knack for reeling in the big tunas. But first, we're going to the CCA workbench to catch some tuna catching secrets for Academy Sports and Outdoors rigs and techniques with Dave and Jimbo.
Yes, we are. He's going to tell us everything he knows. It's going to take him at least 5 minutes.
That's good. That's good for you,
I hope
Dave.
you can stretch it that far, Dave.
We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Sirius XM Marine. Weather. Fish mapping. Entertainment. Penn. Let the battle begin. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Shallow Sport. Legendary performance. And Daiquiri Deck. Food, drinks, friends.
All right, we're here at the CCA workbench for the Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Techniques, and we got Jimbo here, Thomas from the Thomas Flyer fame, South Miami, Tuna King. You got to tell us everything you know about tunas. You know, everybody loves tuna fish because, you know, they fight really hard. They're really good to eat. Everybody loves to eat tuna down here. To my opinion, the worst thing you can do to a tuna fish is put some fire on it. I like to eat them raw like you do with sashimi or sushi. And so we're always out there trying to catch them. They're really targeted a lot. They get a lot of pressure on them. But how do you go about trying to catch one? What are you doing when you're going out and trying to find these tuna first off?
All right, so first off, we got to be out there in the proper time of the year, which is right now.
Right.
You know, we can see them throughout the year, but usually they're on the smaller side. Right now is when we catch the largest ones, 35-pounders, 30-pounders, 25-pounders, so nice yellow.
Are these
black
resident
fins.
fish that just get fatter and fatter, or do the big ones
I
come in?
think they're moving in, they're spawning right now.
I got you. So
Because
the
a
bigger
lot
ones-
of the ones we clean have some roe in them, so that these big ones show up to spawn. It's every year, you know, May, you set the clock with them. We rarely see a yellowfin. When we do, we hardly ever catch them because we're not using the proper tackle for them.
Right. I wish I could figure out why the yellowfin like to stay on the other side of the Gulf Stream.
I think the ones that we see are migrating. They're
Right.
not living here. Where these blackfins are living here, those yellowfins, they're just cruising back and forth to wherever they decide to live, whether it's north or south of us. So we're going to talk about catching blackfins. Now, you control for them,
Right.
which typically on the troll, they're going to be on the smaller side.
You don't like trolling for them, do you?
No, I like to use live bait.
Yes, I know.
Because they're going to be much larger fish.
Right.
But you can use just about anything trolling. You know, the cedar plugs, old-time favorite for blackfins as well as yellowfins. Deep diving lures work well.
Right.
All kinds of assorted tuna feathers. This says tuna feather on there, so it's Tuna Pro, I think. Tuna magnet.
Let me hold it.
So-
I'll hold it real quick and hold it still. This is R&R Tackles. It's tuna
Right.
magnet.
So it's got to catch tuna because it says so.
Well, it's a tuna feather. And you know, tuna is unlike a lot of other species out here. They're very size specific.
Correct.
You don't want to come trolling through there with big horse ballyhoos when they're out there eating a whole lot of little things that are, maybe this size.
Right.
And I've caught a lot of little blackfin tunas and other even big yellowfin tunas on things that are this big.
Right, because they get trained on what they're feeding on. They're eating small flying fish, which are in this size range. That's what they want. You troll something like this by, that's not what we've been dining on.
Eating, yeah. So how are you targeting them out there when you're after them?
So depth is the most important thing for these blackfins. Whether it's 120 feet some days, 190 feet, 250 feet. If you can find a color change with some north current, that's where it's going to be good. But we also can catch them in the green water. We're typically drifting in the current from the Gulf Stream. So we'll go through an area and get some bites, and maybe that's where they're hanging around. And then if we go a little further north in the drift and we don't get any bites, we'll pick up, run, make another drift through that area and hope to get another fish. Also, we talk with other fishermen, so we find out maybe it's better down at Fowey Light or better at Haulover Inlet, from one day to the next.
You normally start probably where you caught them the day before.
Correct, or where we've traditionally caught them, but ultimately they can be anywhere from, throughout our whole region up and down the whole East Coast.
Now, when you get out to that range of water that you think they might be in, what are you starting to look for that's going to probably clue you they'll actually be there?
So we look for flying fish activity. Typically, there's not birds on these blackfins.
Right.
Not like the yellowfins where you have a birdnado.
Right.
There's hardly ever birds on the blackfins. So we're drifting with our baits out under the kite, on the flat lines, out of the outriggers, in the hopes of the blackfins coming up. If you can chum with some live pilchards, that oftentimes will really get them fired up. And you might be throwing live pilchards out, and they come up 200 yards away from you. Keep that bait coming. They're going to come up that chump so they can find your baits ultimately.
Are pilchards your favorite baits? Is it a size thing or?
If we can, pilchards are the only bait we can catch enough of to live chum with.
I gotcha.
Herrings work just as well. Sardines work great. Goggle eyes, they'll eat just about anything when it comes down to it. But pilchards, if we can get enough pilchards to live chum with, we'll chum with the pilchards, put the herrings out under the kite or the goggle eyes or the sardines.
Always using a circle hook?
We use circle hooks. We like to match our circle hook to whatever bait we're using, 4-0, 5-0, 6-0 circle hook. You can go down light on your leaders too. We fish 30-pound fluorocarbon leaders a lot of times when the tunas are biting. The only drawback, if you do hook a sail, a lot of times he's going to break that 30-pound leader.
You get that bill wrapped up in there.
Or if he's jumping, he gets wrapped up, but that's okay.
Because you're wanting to get a tuna bite.
Correct. But there's a lot of times we go real stealthy with the light leader, and then I'll have a line out with 50-pound and even a piece of wire leader because we're getting some king bites, and we get the tuna bite on that stealth rig. I think being a little stealthy definitely will help improve getting some more bites.
Well, that was awesome, man. 5 minutes goes fast.
It does.
I think you might even had some left.
I had a little bit.
Yes, it does. We proved that theory true. You caught a tuna and I caught a king.
That's right.
Boom. What'd you think, Rick? Did they do a good job?
They did a great job. Jimbo always does. Dave is in control
Supervisor
of the bench.
over here.
I was just sitting there listening, wishing I was fishing.
Oh, that was cute. Me too. All right, well, we're seeing sickles in the Sea Sucker Panhandle region, so let's get Captain Pat Deneen on the line to tell us when and where to go find them. Hi, Pat.
Hey, Brie. We have all the tuna flavors in our region. Yellowfins, blackfins, big eye tunas. They're all up here year-round. While the big boys, the bluefins, they're here May and early June, and then they kind of pretty much leave. While we do get blackfins near shore and occasionally off the piers, if you want to really target tunas, you're going to want to head well offshore to either the Okaloosa Pads or the rigs. And the best time of year is generally going to be fall and spring, while the best time of the day is usually first light or late afternoon. With that being said, though, if you go to the rigs with all the lights they have on at night, the nighttime bite could be really good. The preferred methods for tuna fishing are going to be live bait with hardtails or chunking with blackfins, bonitas, or pokies. But while you're out there, sometimes the tunas are all up on top busting, and a heavy spinning rod rigged up with a topwater popper can be really effective when the fish are busting up on top. Probably the most targeted tuna in our region is going to be the yellowfin. They range, up to 150 plus pounds. Sometimes someone will catch one pushing 200. Or maybe just a shade over. But yeah, we do have all the tunas up here. It's been good this summer so far. Staying offshore, I spoke with Captain Chris Kirby on the Backlash out of Destin, and he's been telling me how good the sword fishing's been. He's been fishing the lumps and other bottom features out around the spur and out in the steps areas, 1,300 to 1,700 feet of water. And they're catching swordfish both day and nighttime, but the daytime bite seems to be more consistent. Dolphin strips, bonita strips, Spanish mackerel, mullet, squid are all good baits. The nighttime fish use several baits at depths varying from 50 to 300 feet. During the daytime, fish 1 or 2 rods near the bottom. Use a sacrificial weight like a scrap rebar to get your bait down there, and then another lead to stay tight with your bait after you've lost your sacrificial lead. But either day or night, put a light source or 2 up above your bait, 20, 30, 40 feet. But the sword fishing right now has been really good. Moving inshore, there's been a bunch of Spanish mackerel still being caught. It's kind of later in the season for us to see in so many of them. But in Pensacola, the 3 Mile Bridge and the Navy base area have been real good. Destin, the inlet, and areas around Crab Island, and over towards St. Andrews Bay, the points and the range markers within the bay. But we've also been seeing a whole ton of them along the Gulf Shore beaches while we've been looking for tarpons. But look for the turns wheeling or dipping on the base. It's a sure sign there's probably some Spanish around. They're feeding on the same minnows. Troll with spoons and straw rigs or free line small pilchards, menhaden, or shrimps. The Spanish are running up to 3 pounds or so. And then staying inshore, Rick, the tarpon are starting to show up in our region. I know how much you like that.
I do like that.
Yeah, man, particularly in the eastern portions. Apalachicola Bay and the beaches off Cape San Blas. Also, the Crooked Island has been pretty good. Anchor up and wait on these fish, or drift and use your trolling motor to intercept the traveling fish. Live herring, cigar minnows, pilchards, threadfins, all great baits. Either free line them or fish them under a float. I like to use a 7/0 circle hook, 60-pound fluorocarbon leader for the bite tippet. And then fly fishermen are going with streamers and toads. There's been some smaller fish around right now. We caught one probably 30 pounds the other day, but most are in that 60 to 90-pound range. And there's a pretty nice little picture of Captain Kirk Ogren out of Destin. He and his crew, they got their hands on this one earlier this week. Really nice, stubborn fish, but they got a good picture and a nice release.
All right.
Cool.
Good report, Pat. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Our man Pat says that the docks in Santa Rosa Sound towards Tiger Point for redfish and speckled trout float a live bait under a cork and cast bass, assassin paddle tails. And then offshore, big vermilion snappers on natural bottom in 90 to 150 feet of water. Use cut squid, minnows, small herring, as well as pilchards for bait. Is going to be probably allow you to catch them.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, man.
All right, Rick, well, we have some CCA star news. The first tagged redfish was captured and released before the start of the CCA Florida Star competition presented by Yamaha. This unregistered Pinellas County angler caught the Duke Energy Mariculture redfish using a live shrimp. If he had been registered and a CCA member, he could have won a boat and a Yamaha motor or Sea-Doo Can-Am package. Registration is open throughout the tournament, so get registered now and start entering any fish you catch this summer for your shot at winning a share of $500,000 in prizes and scholarships. Make sure you go to ccaflstar.com for more information.
I just can't get it. I mean, it's not like this is something new. I mean, it happens every year, guys. And how is it that we're catching tagged fish and guess what? We're not.
I know.
There's
$500,000 in prizes. Just do it. If you're going fishing this summer, just do it. All right, we're getting into the tuna action in the Front Runner Boats Northeast and Real Legends Central East regions when we come back. So start getting your poke bowl ingredients together, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
All right.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, your fish, our science, Bahio Sunglasses, blue light blocking, radically clear lenses, Sea Sucker, easy on, easy off, incredibly strong, Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure, Kubota, together we do more, Front Runner Boats, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. And Yanmar ASV, a leader in compact equipment.
Welcome back. The Front Runner Boats Northeast region is ready for all of the sushi parties that Captain Tommy Derringer always gets invited to. Right, Tom?
I love a fishing party. That's right, Brie.
He never gets invited.
Hey, you know what? We have an awesome tuna fisher here in the Front Runners Boats Northeast region, and hey, tuna party sounds great to me. Some of the best times of the year to target those tuna is when the water is a little cooler, usually from about December through the springtime and even right around this time of year. And then we have another little run of those guys heading into the fall. Now, most anglers are going to target the blackfin tuna right on the ledge, somewhere in about 180 to about 200 feet of water. Our tunas tend to be structure-oriented fish, so you're going to want to look for those structures that are holding a good amount of bait. Now, most anglers are going to pull cedar plugs. Favorites are blue and white or ballyhoos rigged with sea witches, or a variety of other smaller lures. Captain Jason Hadges from jhookfishingcharters.com, he's one of our tuna fish experts here in the region. He tells me he likes to run those plugs way back, sometimes in that 100 to 200 yard range. You know, those tunas tend to be a little bit spooky at times. And Captain Jason also said that it always seems like when it's a little rougher out there in the ocean, that's probably going to be when the tuna fish are going to bite a little bit better, probably because it's going to make them a little less shy. Now, we do have some yellowfin tuna around, and you can occasionally catch those in the same areas you're going to find the blackfin. But, you know, if you really want to target those yellowfin, you're looking at a long run, probably to the east side of the Gulf Stream. This year, in particular, we've seen quite a few big yellowfins in my region. It seems like more anglers are giving it a go this year. You know, it's a long run. Like I said earlier, usually to the other side of the Gulf Stream, but it can be very rewarding as well. You know, most of the yellowfins that I've seen coming to the dock this year, they've been big. They've been in that 40 to about 80, 90 pound range. And speaking of those fish, I've got a photo here. Captain Adam Jeffrey from the Real Dream, he sent me this picture of a big old yellowfin that they caught over there on the other side recently. And they're fishing this East Side Tuna Roundup tournament, which I think has got a lot of guys interested in doing it. That's
Nice.
a lot of sushi right there, man.
Yeah, it is.
Love it.
All right, what else you got for us offshore?
The snapper, man, the mangrove snapper, and the muttons as well, actually. But, you know, it's just about time to start talking about the mangrove snapper bite. The next couple of full and new moons, you know, like we have this weekend, we have the full moon, should get the mangoes fired up. You know, they're going to be schooled up while they spawn over those offshore structures. You can find them over just about any kind of structure, but some of the best spots for those mangoes are going to be big ledges in that 100 to 140 foot range. If you're fishing the bottom, you can use a variety of live and dead baits, but a lot of the guys are going to chum them up, and then chum them up to the surface, that is, and free-line a chunk of bait back using, you know, a long 20 to 30 pound fluorocarbon leader, usually a smaller hook like a 3/0 Eagle Claw circle hook. Now, I spoke to Captain Chad Starling from Team Buck Rogers Fishing Charters up there in Jacksonville, and he tells me he's been on a great mango bite and the muttons this week east of Jacksonville. You know, guys, we get some of the biggest monster mangrove snappers. And speaking of monster mangoes, I got another picture here. Captain Chad Starling sent me this picture of a huge mango that they caught last week, and there's going to be a lot more of that happening.
Bub, I'm just telling you, man. I saw Brie's reaction to the yellowfin because she has a history with a big one in Guatemala. But then I saw this snapper and I lost it. So can't wait to see what you got inshore.
You're like
we gotta
a
get up
puddle
there
right
and do
now,
that
Ray.
sometime, man.
Oh, man.
Moving inshore, guys, you know, we've had a bunch of rain last week. Sometimes that turns the inshore bite off a little bit, but you know what? It hasn't this week. And the water looks nice and the redfish are chewing. We have a higher tide early. Perfect time to toss a topwater plug. I talk about that topwater plug all the time, but it's one of my favorite things to have people do. The bone-colored Berkeley Jaywalker plug been working really great this week for my clients. We're just going to locate schools of bait along the grass and work those areas, oyster points, any of those kind of areas. The creek fishing on the lower tide a little bit later in the day has been great as well. A simple mud minnow or a live shrimp or even a dead shrimp on a jig head has also been working great. Now also inshore, the trout, some bigger trout have shown up. You know, they're a little late this year, I think, but I spoke to Captain Rob Bennett from coastalfish.net. He tells me he's been keeping it close this week. And by that, I mean he's fishing the docks and the rocks right around downtown St. Augustine. Again, first thing, the topwater has been working well, but you know he's been catching some really big trout and redfish using a mud minnow or a small mullet. pitched under docks and around those seawalls, anywhere you see some bait. There's quite a few trout around on that falling tide, and there's some big ones in the mix as well. And I mean, some really big ones. And speaking of those big trout, I've got one last picture here. Captain Rob Bennett sent me this picture of his client with a gator trout they caught right there downtown in St. Augustine, right along a seawall.
All right, good pictures this week as always. Tommy, you never let us down. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the strike zone, northeast hotspots. He says that inshore, the trout and redfish on top water early and then move into the creeks on the lower tides, fish mud minnows and shrimp and a 1/4-ounce jig head in the deeper bends of those creeks. And then offshore, still a good mix of tunas, mahis, and sailfish on the troll, and the bottom fishing is starting to fire off with a good number of mangoes, muttons, and groupers.
Just a puddle of
mangoes.
Mango mush over here with that photo.
Wow.
It's like,
I
wow.
love catching big mango snappers.
I can tell there's not a lot of photos and species that you fall on the floor for. That was one of them.
my
I was like,
God.
oh, let me pick you back up and sit you
That
back
and
here.
a 10-pound bass is in my
I was going to
list.
just say the bass. All right, the Real Legend Central East region has plenty of options for us this upcoming weekend, so let's see what Captain Jim Ross is putting us on. Hi, Jim.
Hey there, gang. I tell you what, it's nice to have an expert tuna catcher right there in the studio with you with Jimbo. But, you know, the tuna action on the western side of our Gulf Stream is a little slow right now. We're hoping that it picks up like it does in the regions to the south of us. But the boats that are running 80 to 120 miles to the east side of the Gulf Stream and finding those packs of birds, man, if you're getting over there, just be ready to break out the wasabi because you're catching fish. Most of those blackfin and yellowfin tuna schools over there are underneath bird packs. You will find that if you tune your radar to pick up the birds, you should get into a bite pretty quickly. Now, trolls, skirted ballyhoo, you know, those Penn International 50 wides do a really good job of this type of fishing. Just make sure that you get wide sweeping turns way out in front of the fish, in front of where they're feeding, and that way you don't drive them down. Our average blackfin is running about 15 to 20, and our average yellowfin is running about 20 to 45 pounds at this time. And then staying offshore, with all of this weed we've had blowing in, the sargasso is rolling in daily from offshore here in my Real Legends region. That means that the triple tail are found feeding under all of those floating mats. So look for weed mats with a lot of life around them. They're holding baits like minnows, crabs, little shrimp, and the triple tail have been holding and feeding right under them. Use a live free line shrimp and throw it around some of the thicker portions of the mat. And that's and especially if you find some hard debris like a board or a branch or something like that floating in the mat, man, go straight to that point because that's where those fish are most likely going to be hanging. And our average triple tail is running 18 to 22 inches right now. There are some bigger ones out there. And I got a picture here of Leslie and Linda. They sight casted a fish, and this fish was so fired up, he ate both of their shrimp. So they both got to land the same fish. Pretty cool.
Nice.
Cool. Tag teaming them, baby. I love it. All right. Tell me what's happening inshore.
Well, you know, our sixth season's coming to a close, Rick, but, you know, all up and down the Atlantic, there's still tons and tons of these fish that you can catch and release, and it's really good through the summer months. Snook can be found in the surf anywhere from Floridana Beach all the way up to Satellite Beach for those guys that are throwing R&R jigs and lip diving plugs. And then, you know, the Sebastian Inlet and Ponce Inlet jetties are also holding a lot of good fish. Now, those fish are hitting Artemis shad, especially at nighttime, and then live baits more so in the daytime. So you also want to catch them around the Spoil Islands in the Indian River right now, from Grant all the way down to Wabasto and even into Vero. The bait is really thick around those islands, and those snook are holding around those pods of bait. You find mullet, you find glass minnows, or some pilchards, and you're going to find snook around them. So check those Spoil Islands. Don't miss them. And, you know, our average snook is running about 25 to 35 inches right now, and I've got a photo here of one that we caught on the beach the other day to show you that there's tons of these fish out there to catch. Just be real gentle putting them back in the water. And then lastly, our trout bite in the grassy areas of the Mosquito Lagoon. Yes, that's right. You heard me. I said grassy areas of Mosquito Lagoon. We're actually seeing some grass return. Barracuda Bay, Orvis Cove, Turtle Pen. There's a lot of other areas that I could talk about, but they're really good, and they're getting trout in them right now. And, of course, here in the Central East region, we love our pigfish. You got to get your pigfish out there, cast them into those grassy areas, and then we oink our pigfish by twitching them upwards with our rod tip to pull them up out of the grass. That makes them jump up in the water column. It makes them grunt a couple of times, or oink, if you will, and then before they start to get back down in there. And those are dinner bells for the trout. Trout come running to them. So get out there. Especially this weekend is going to be really good. First thing in the morning, though, topwater plug. and also that 4-inch vapor shad from Assassin that seems to be working really good. But fish them around those grass beds, look for that bait, throw your Penn Battle 2500 or maybe a 3000 size reel for this type of fishing, and you guys and gals should get some really, really nice trout over the weekend.
All right, Jim, thank you so much. Great report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Rodan Marine System, hot spots from the Central East region, the speckled trout from the Orchard Island to Honest John's, using free line pilchards, croakers, or mullet to fish up to 28 inches. And then offshore, the groupers on the reef and 150 to 250 feet of water used live grunts, pinfish, pogies, or croakers on a standard bottom rig. Get them up quickly to avoid those shark bites.
That would be Orchid Island, Rick.
Orchid?
Yep, got you.
I can't
That's why I'm here.
see.
I know,
My
it's okay.
eyes are tearing.
That's all right. That's why I'm here. All right, in just a few weeks, our studio will be full of young
Teach me how to read.
anglers on June 19th for our annual kids show.
Okay.
I'm so excited. It'll be packed with action and interactive stations that consist of casting, rigging live bait, and knot tying, along with games, prizes, and of course, lots and lots of snacks. To sign up, head to our website, Florida Insider Fishing Report, or scan the QR code on your screen, which is probably a lot easier. All right, our Fish Bites East region is ready to take on the sea, but first, Dave is going to get us prepped and ready to take on the sea for Taco Marine New Products.
Why do we have to have kids for the snacks? I mean, why can't I have snacks all the time?
You've never, you
There should be snacks every show. It shouldn't be just a kids show.
I agree, but more
Rick's going to
snacks
send
than
me on a
normal.
trip, though, and he's going to give me this AFCO bag to go.
Oh, and then
He's
you
a good
woke
fella.
up, Dave.
He's a good fellow, that
We'll be
Rick.
back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Penn, let the battle begin. Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. Best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and as you can see, it's time to troll the edge with Taco Marine. And Dave, we talk about new products every week.
Yep.
And we look like we've got some.
We're going to start right off with the Sea Sucker toilet paper holder.
I love it.
Yeah, man. It's the Sea Sucker's #1 most requested item.
Really?
Yeah, everybody wanted one of those. Because when you got to go, you got to go. It's a convenient way to mount your toilet paper wherever you need it. In the bathroom, in the cabin, in the center console. If you have an RV or something, you can put your toilet paper wherever you want. So when you
I like the fact that I can pull it out, deploy it while I'm
deploy it.
Yes, while I'm
Exactly.
out doing my thing, and then I can put it away.
Right. Small and
Bree's
compact.
losing it over there.
It fits anywhere. And seeing as how when you got to go, you got to go. There you go.
And all you got to do is pull up on the edge,
Seasucker.com to get one of those.
and we can put it away.
Yep.
Speaking of flushing,
Yep. TH Marine large PVC motor flusher. Stole
Yes.
my joke.
yes,
I can't give you any type of hint of
You
a
should
joke.
keep
You'll
those
steal
things
it.
to yourself.
That's a large universal motor flusher, and it'll flush away any salt or sand or mud that's in there. You can tune your engine, while you got it hooked up.
Right.
Make any adjustments or whatever. Prolongs your life of your motor just, by keeping it clean inside and out. And, just don't ever try to put it on while your motor's running already. That's not a good idea.
don't forget to take it off and then take it to the boat ramp.
Correct.
That's the problem.
Go to thmarinesupplies.com to get one of those. Everybody should have one of those because you never know what's going to happen with the little valve on the top there. I mean, if you have one of these, you're never going to have to worry about flushing out your motor.
All right.
Next, we got some knock and tail lures. These are made in Katy, Texas. They're unique lures with a little rattle built into the tail. This is the new color in the Rogue color. It's in the 4-inch. And they're coming with a
good-looking color.
Yeah, and they've got these brand new chrome plated jig heads, the KTL, and they will stay pretty and shiny because they're chrome plated, those jig heads.
And I love a lead looking jig head.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, chartreuse is certainly a favorite.
They've also got these new UV eyes, painted eyes on the 4-inch in some select colors. They come in 3.5. 3.25, 4, and 5-inch.
And don't forget, they come packed with the rattle in the tail.
Knocking Tails Lures. And you can go to knockingtaillures.com.
Cleaning the tail, flushing the tail, and knocking the tail.
Right.
What are you going to do? You're going to hide the tail in here?
When you want to hightail it out of town. You get the AFTCO roller luggage bag. AFTCO.com. It's made out of 600D recycled polyester.
Boom.
This base on here is made from seam sealed tarpaulin, so it'll keep your stuff water resistant in the bottom there. It's got really nice zippers on it. At the very bottom of it, it's got a removable liner with a handle, and you can put all your dirty clothes in the bottom, and any wet boots or whatever you want, you can put them all in.
Where's
all in
the
the bottom.
zipper for this one?
I don't know, man. They're on here somewhere.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. It's buried.
Yeah, that's the top one.
Yep.
And you got the nice elastic straps so that you can keep everything tidy. And I like the.
There's
see
one
if we
more.
can find it. Here it is, right here.
Come on, Dave. So you can put your dirty, stinky clothes
all the way in the bottom.
In the bottom.
Yeah, and this whole thing zips out as well. This whole
so they
little
can
bag.
go in the wash.
Yeah, and it actually has a handle on it. You can carry it out once it's all the way out. But really, really neat.
Nice.
See, it's got a little handle.
Oh
on it
yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
I zipped it all the way onto the other end.
All right, and then we got
obviously
to roll it down to our gate at American Airlines.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. So
Dave.
Get you one of those AFTCO. I'm going to Texas, and this will do me good. I'm glad you decided to give me that.
You want that? You can have that.
No.
Here, you need it?
It's all right.
Listen, it's my birthday
want it.
present.
I'm very humble.
It's my birthday present to you.
Maybe I'll take it.
How is
I
that
might take it.
the best and crappiest segment we've ever done? I just don't understand. That was great, gentlemen.
Oh, that
also,
was funny.
My birthday's coming up, so that can be my bag.
Yeah, there you go.
I gave it a Dave.
All right, if you have tuna brain in the Fish Bites East region, Captain Mike Holliday is telling you exactly where to go and what to do. We're taking notes, Mike. Go for it.
Yeah, I want to give you notes, but I want to know, today's my birthday, too. How do we all get born like in the same week?
There you go.
Is today really your birthday holiday?
June 1st.
There you go.
Nice.
Happy birthday, Holly.
What the heck?
Heck, man, we can't keep up. We're all getting so old so fast.
To catch a tuna in my region with any consistency, there's two good options. Run to the area north of the Bahamas known as the corner or the pocket, or you can fish in 150 to 300 feet of water from Boynton Inlet all the way north to the St. Lucie Power Plant. The run to the corner is about 65 miles, but you'll find lots of yellowfin tuna under the diving birds with blackfin tuna mixed in as well. Mark the birds, figure out what direction they're moving, get ahead of them, put out anything from a naked ballyhoo to a cedar plug, to a swimming plug, to a dark colored swimming plug like purple. You'll get the fish to chew, and then you want to just get them in before the sharks get to them. The tuna locally, we've had an amazing late spring blackfin tuna bite, particularly off Palm Beach, but they're also trickling their way all the way up through Stewart, all the way up into St. Lucie County. You can troll small naked ballyhoo or a silver or pink feather. That's a good way to cover a lot of water. The most consistent action is going to come fishing live bait, either off a kite or power drifted while chumming. Live pilchers are going to be the hot bait. The average yellowfin tuna over in the corner is going to be 40 to 60 pounds, while the average blackfin tuna in our area is going to be anywhere from like 15 to 30 pounds. I got a great photo that the Floridian charter boat sent me. They're out of Port Salerno. They had a nice mixed bag of blackfin tuna and dolphin, which is coincidental because the dolphin bite's been really good. And after, very dismal spring dolphin bite, we're finally seeing a push of dolphin through my region. And while it's not red hot, we are definitely seeing an increase in both size and numbers of fish. There's no real pattern to the fish. I've seen them caught as shallow as 65 feet this week and as deep as 900 feet. But they're definitely coming off the weed lines and the color changes. You can troll ballyhoo or a feather and strip combination if you want to just cover water, or you can sabiki up a bunch of sardines or thread fins using an R&R sabiki rig. and then just slow troll them around anything you see floating. Keep an eye out for diving birds and turtles. Seems like a few dolphin coming off of those right now. Average dolphin in my region, 10 to 20 pounds. I got a photo of a couple nice dolphin caught in 170 feet of water off the St. Lucie power plant, and those fish ate trolled value.
All right, well, let's go ahead and go inshore there, bub.
Well, the ocean's finally calming down, and we're starting to see the first of the migrating tarpon working their way up our coast. At the same time, the resident fish are beginning to show up in places like the Loxahatchee River, the Crossroads in Stewart, Big and Little Mud Creeks, the Turning Basin, Harbor Ridge, and the Moorings Channel up in Indian River County. A lot of the traveling fish are stopping in all the inlets in the region for the night, so there's been a great bite in the inlets on the outgoing tides. We got a full moon this week, so that'll make it even better. The resident fish are more of that arbitrarily rolling fish where a fish rolls here and a fish rolls there. And to get those fish to bite, you put out 2 mullet behind the boat on circle hooks, then cast a Houdini-colored saltwater assassin 4-inch sea shad. You just throw that at the rolling fish and reel it painfully slow. In the inlets, drift a live mullet out with a tide. The beach fish, they'll eat anything from a live crab to a black and purple colored fly to a live pilchard or sardine. And the average tarpon's going to be 40 to 80 pounds. The other thing we got going, snook season closed June 1st, but there's still some great catch and release action on fish in the Indian, St. Lucie, and Loxahatchee rivers. The fish haven't moved in the inlet yet. There's still a strong mullet run going on in the Indian River, so you can pick a shoreline up in Herman's Bay or along Walton Road or the mouth of Taylor Creek or Forky Road and just start your day throwing topwater plugs or saltwater assassin die-dappers. And then as the day goes on, you want to probably switch to live mullet. The full moon's coming up. Won't be until the new moon that the fish push out onto the beaches in big numbers for the summer. And when that happens, you can walk along the shore at Hopestown Beach, Bathtub Beach, Stewart Beach, South Beach, and Fort Pierce, just throwing a 4-inch sea shad and just plucking those fish out of the trough. Average snook in my region is 5 to 20 pounds. A lot of big fish right now for the guys that are fishing mullet and those big topwater plugs and die-dappers. I got a photo that Captain Jimmy Walden of Night Stalker Charters in Jensen Beach sent me. That big snook ate a dead mullet on the bottom off a dock along Indian River Drive.
All right, Mike, let's get the bass report for this week. What do you got?
Yeah, the big fish, big numbers bite on Lake Okeechobee has really tapered off, and we're starting to see more of that normal summer pattern. I was talking to Nathan Shellen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He said the dawn bite has shifted to school fish that are around the spawning shad from Tin House Cove all the way up to Kings Bar. Be on the water at first light, throwing white spinnerbaits, flukes, and swim jigs. Look for the Kissimmee grass beds. That seems to be where a lot of the fish are hanging out. A shiner-colored chatterbait or a gold rush-colored bass assassin logger toad is going to work on them. And for the big fish bite, that's coming for anglers that are flipping the isolated grass clumps with smaller baits like a black and blue glitter little skunk ape, or working a die-dapper or topwater plug around the bluegill beds. Right now it's a 20-fish morning, average bass 1 to 3 pounds with fish to 6 pounds. I got a photo that Bob Perret sent me in of a nice bass that he took from a local pond behind his house, and that fish ate a bass assassin logger toad.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the East region. Mike says that the T&H hot spots are tarpon and jumbo jacks on the beach off of Hobe Sound. Live mullet, pilchards, thread fins, and bait fish flies is going to work for them. And then offshore, full moon, mutton snapper fishing off the Loran Tower Ledge. Pilchards, sardines, and grunt plugs are going to work the best for those big muttons.
All right, Rick. Well, it's time to show support for our Florida's fisheries with a Conserve Florida Fishery license plate for just $25. Proceeds go to the redfish tag to supporting and enhancing Florida's saltwater marine resources, habitat restoration, water quality, and coastal environmental education. Get this beautiful edition at your local DMV or visit redfishtag.com. Do you have one yet?
Yeah, I've actually just changed my birthday is this weekend, so we've been at the tag agency all week changing because all the dang cars are in my name.
All of them?
All of them.
That's because you Papa Murphy. Of course they are.
No, it's because I be buying gifts That's what it is.
Oh, my birthday's next. I want a car. I want a bag. I want it all.
Okay.
Coming up, we're checking in with the StarTron Central West and Casa Vieja Southwest regions. Plus, Jimbo made a crawfish boil, and we got the recipe. So don't miss it. But before we go, make sure you scan that QR code on your screen for an effortless way to stay connected with us throughout the season. And you can watch our new YouTube video from our recent fishing trip on the Thomas Flyer with Captain Jimbo. Once again, and spoiler alert, we may have caught a tuna, so make sure you scan away. Jimbo's just all over us tonight.
This is a Jimbo show.
It is. I love it.
I love it.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by StarTron. Start, run, and store with StarTron. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Tin Cup, Mountain Whiskey. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Well, as you can see, I got my good buddy Jimbo Thomas from the Thomas Flyer. Jimbo, you love having crawfish boils, and why is that?
I like to eat good food.
Well, you sure do.
And I like to drink some cold beer, so nothing goes better.
Well, you sure do a good job at both. So let's take a look at what we did a couple weeks ago. So, Jimbo, your crawfish boils are world famous in South Florida.
Okay.
So thank you for, he said thanks for inviting us over. So how do you do this? I mean, we do get together probably 3 or 4 times a year with you guys. So what's the secret to getting them?
Well, they all come from Louisiana. So there's 100 places you can order them from. So you get your crawfish. You got to clean them off a little bit because they're usually pretty muddy. We clean them off. We got our big pot. We boil them in some Cajun spices. You can use whatever spice you like. Everybody's got their own preference. Most of this stuff is salt. It's all the same, pretty much any spice blend you get. You spice them to your liking. You can have them hot, medium, mild, however you like them. We do our potatoes, corn, pearl onions, sausages, Brussels sprouts. What you put in there is endless. You can put beans, okra, artichokes, cabbage. We did some shrimp, got some Brussels sprouts. So you can throw whatever you want in there, and you let them soak after you cook them with whatever your spice amount you like, and then you enjoy.
All right, so while we're talking about this for a second, pretty much when you go to do this, show people how you pop off the head and the tail, and then do you eat the claws and all of that also?
If you get some really big ones, the claws are good. There are some big ones in here. I don't see any right this second. So if you get big ones, and later in the season they get bigger and bigger and bigger, the claws get bigger. So yes, you can eat the claws, but you twist the tail off.
Right.
And you can just pinch the very back of the tail.
Right. And then you
grab it with your teeth, and it all comes out. But see, you're an amateur, so it didn't work that easy.
There, I got it.
Otherwise, you can peel it like a shrimp, peel a couple rings off.
Right.
And then pinch the tail, and all the meat comes right out of the tail. And man, is that good.
That is good.
If you're a real Cajun,
right,
you suck the heads.
Are you a real Cajun?
Nope, but I suck the heads. And
that's pretty good stuff.
It is. They're still a little hot. But
you like them better when they're cooler? Or you want them lukewarm?
I like them hotter so they're warm. These are almost a little too hot. You know, they're burning our fingers a little bit because they came straight out of the pot. But we'll let them rest for a little bit, a couple minutes, and they will be ready. I think I'm going to do about 4 of these trays today.
Wow. Well, thanks for inviting me over. You want a bite of my sausage? Okay.
All right. Jimbo's the only one allowed to do cooking segments from now on, okay? Because that was amazing.
It always is, but it's so much fun, you know, because you're drinking and you're having the, you know, it's just you're enjoying being outside too.
And find friends as well.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
All right, well, amateur over here.
Thomases know how to have fun.
Yeah, they do. All right, the StarTron Central West region, Captain Jeff Page, is taking us into Tuna Town. So get ready to reel. Go for it, Paige.
All right. Well, we're probably not as well known for our tuna fishery here as maybe regions on the East Coast and even up in the Panhandle. But we have a year-round fishery, and it mostly centers around the blackfin tuna. And Captain Chris Seeger at Tight Lines, I was talking to him, and he's saying the one thing that he always does, even if he's grouper or snapper fishing, is he has a flat line out for tuna, especially this time of year. And then if it's just tuna that he's focusing on, wanting to target them, he's going to fish anywhere from 100 feet of water on out, and he's going to spend the first few hours in the morning and the last few hours of the day strictly tuna fishing, and you can throw lip plugs or tuna plugs. And then Captain Jason Stock was mentioning that it's always good to key in on the big cigar minnows and the sardine schools. Find those, you're going to find the tunas out there. So I've got a couple photos tonight. First one is from Captain Chris Seeger, and that's his first mate west with a nice tuna. And then my second one is a couple happy clients with Captain Tim Noe out of Sarasota.
Nice.
Those are good-sized tuna. We'll take them.
All right. Tell us about the snappers.
Staying offshore, red snapper. The first week of red snapper, Rick, in our region, and from all that I've heard, everybody's been getting a few, not as many as they expected, but that's the way it always is. They're biting good the week before, and then when it opens, slows down a little bit. They're still getting some nice ones, 90 to 100 feet of water, and they're mixing it up with live pinfish and pilchards as well as cut sardines, chicken rigs, standing bottom rigs, knocker rigs, and it's not bad. And my picture tonight is from Captain Jason Stock of Full Send Charters, the nice American red snapper.
Nice. All right, we're going to go ahead and go inshore there, bub. Thank you.
All right, your favorite fish, the tarpon, wide open. It's guys catching them down there where Hageman and all them work in the big Boca Grande Pass, and then all up the beaches. Minnesota Key's been really productive all the way up to the Venice jetties. And look at the fish, like I said last week, they're laid up in the morning. You can throw free-line crabs or free-lined pilchards, thread fins, or I'd tell you what, Rick, what works really well, I know you like a pinfish, but that Spanish sardine, the larger ones, work really well. As the day goes on, you're going to want to cork them to keep them in the strike zone. And then in the afternoons on this full moon we've got coming up, it's going to be some epic low hilltide fishing in all the major passes from Boca Grande to Egmont. We've got a picture tonight of Captain Brett Norris from Rock Bottom Charters with a nice tarpon he got, I think, on the last big hilltide.
All right. One last
species, snook. Wasn't long ago, Rick, we were worried about our snook fishery. Well, we may not have a lot of the big fish, but we've got a lot of 20 to 28-inch fish with some big fish, but not as many as I expect to see this time of year. Number one bait's been the free-line pilchard, scaled sardine, fishing in the bay of mangroves on the high tides, which occur around noontime, 1 o'clock. Want to fish up around the mangroves, oyster bars, Bull Bay, Turtle Bay, Long Bar Point, and Palmasola, and then out along the beaches. If you like throwing lures, tough to beat the stick shad 110 in the chrome or the bone pattern. My last photo tonight is a happy client with Captain R.C. Gilliland. And real quick, I need to mention, if you haven't signed up for CCA Star, it's real simple. You go to ccaflstar.com.
All right, thank you so much, Paige. Great report from the StarTron Central West region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hotspots. Captain Page says that inshore, the tarpon drift fish in the afternoon on the outgoing tide in Egmont Pass with free-line pass crabs on a 5-0 Eagle Claw circle hook. And then offshore, mangrove snappers, full moon nighttime snapper bite, and 70 to 90 feet of water off of Venice is on fire.
Good stuff. All right, speaking of good stuff, if redfish, tarpon, permit, and of course tuna sound like a perfect weekend, then the Casa Vieja Southwest region is where you need to be. So Captain Houston, let's hear it.
Well, you know what? According to Captain Mike Avedon, blackfins are the primarily and mainly species of tuna caught around here, and they can be caught as early as spring. And you can start off catching these fish behind shrimp boats, and you can probably use oats, live chumming pilchards, or really using the trash from behind the back of these shrimp boats. But trolling is really an effective way to be catching them, starting from May through October, and that's when you want to be using feathers, small lures, and actually representing something like a flying. Really good choice, as well as looking for fish busting on the surface, but always keep your eye out for birds. You can always flatline baits while bottom fishing, and you want to start fishing for any of these fish, and at the times of year I mentioned, starting at depths of 120 feet and on and beyond. And I've got a picture of a common tuna that's generally caught this time of year while fishing with Capt Mike Avedon. Still on the offshore side of the permit, we know we've been talking about it. As long as we have the moderate weather, the permit bite remains strong throughout the whole region. Plenty of captains and recreational anglers are catching many fish by fishing wrecks, towers, and artificial reefs. One of the main keys has been the clean water and the live crabs, either free line or just a little bit of weight. And some of the areas these fish are really schooled up. They can actually be sight casted. You want to be using 30 to 50 pound fluorocarbon depending upon the structure. If that doesn't work, just simply drifting in and around or across the structure or the run and gun method. When you use the run and gun method, slowly approach the area, look for schools on top. And here's a banner day of the permit fishing I've been talking about recently in the last week for the south.
Nice.
Or the redfish. The bite has slowly started to improve further south from Indian Key to Lofton's River. Now, the key is going to be especially on your lower tides, before that water gets too high, for the fish to flood back into the mangroves. The last couple storms we've had have broken up a lot of the mangroves. Those fish are running to the back in that higher water. But you want to start fishing your outer Gulf points and follow the fish in with the tide. Fish will surge to school up in creek mouths and areas of deadwater blowdown. Flood tides is going to be tough, but your mid-tide seems to be the best opportunity. Topwater walk-the-dog lures like the Berkeley Jaywalkers and Hijackers. Old spoons seem to be working better, especially on your lower tides. But you can also use bright-colored bucktails tipped with shrimp because of scent. Cut baits on the bottom because of scent. Or as the tide gets high, you can simply chum live pilchers on your higher tides, draw the fish out. Nice redfish caught while fishing with Captain Chris Broom. The last species is going to be something similar to what Jeff was talking about, the tarpon. Now, this fight is happening down the coast. Now, I know a lot of people are rushing up and targeting the Sanibel to Stump Paris area, but there are plenty of fish down to the south that aren't being pressured, with another wave of fish recently in the last 2 days that are pushing to the north. In the last week, Marco Island to Fort Myers, from the beach line out to 30 feet of water, live crabs have been working well, free lines are under a cork. Look for the fish out on the horizon as well as free jumping fish. Let these fish come to you or drift the area you last saw them. Live herring, pinfish if you can't get the crabs, along with 5 to 8 inch swim baits, 30-pound braid, 8-foot section of 50-pound fluorocarbon, and using 6.0 to 8.0 Eagle Claw trocar, depending upon the size of the bait. There's a couple fish caught in the last few days with Captain Chris McCubbin. Hey, Rick, I got a quick question for you. I get a lot of questions a few times a month about lithium batteries. The only reply I've given to most of the guys I've talked to is, look, I've had no reason to go to lithium. I run AGMs in my boat combined with the power pole charge. Never have a problem with power all during the day, and generally if I make a run back to the ramp, the batteries are charged the next morning. What is your opinion on the lithium batteries?
You're absolutely right. Using the Odyssey glass mat batteries, Ronnie, which I've been using them. I buy them. They're not a sponsor of anything we do, but I want to tell you, those glass mats in the combination of the power pole charge, there's never ever been a problem. So I just don't see at this point of spending the money for the lithium batteries unless they, eventually they're going to probably bring the price down. Or if you're in a real small technical poling skiff and weight is everything, then maybe you should consider spending that additional money.
Exactly how I feel. Thanks, guys.
All right, bud. You're welcome. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Serenity Bait Company hotspots from the Southwest region. He says inshore, the mangrove snappers in the Everglades backcountry. Cannon Bay to Onion Key Bay using live shrimp or cut shrimp or maybe a bucktail tipped with shrimp along the deadwood and the points. And then offshore, red snappers from Marco to Fort Myers Beach in 160 to 200 feet of water using cut and live baits on the bottom.
All right, well, I'm just ready for another Jimbo thing.
You ready for it?
Oh, wait, no, Jimbo's done. He's cut, he's gone.
He left.
He left the building.
He saw that package and he said, I'm hungry, I'm out.
He did, but he stayed and watched it to make sure he looked good.
Yeah.
All right, anglers, get ready for the Key West Marlin Tournament July 19th through the 22nd. This fun-filled sport fishing event is limited to the first 75 boats and coincides with the 43rd annual Hemingway Days celebration in Key West. For more information and, of course, to get registered, go to keywestmarlin.com. The Yanmar ASV Keys region is our last stop on the way to your weekend, so stay with us for your report from Paradise, and we'll be right back on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. Rick, you should probably listen up to this report.
I know.
Because you're going to be in the Keys this weekend.
I am.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Island Lures. Tournament Tackle. The IGFA. Every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. Real Legends. Available at bellsflorida.com. Dynapack. Your partner on the road. And Taco Marine. Troll the edge.
My Power Pole shallow water anchors make it a lot easier for catching bait, and that's something I do 9-10 months out of the year for my fishing charters. First thing I like to do is observe which way the wind's coming from before I set the boat up and put my power poles down to catch bait. I use my power pole to anchor the boat up current from the flat or the drop-off edge where the bait is holding. I start throwing a little bit of chum out to bring the bait in close to the boat. Power pole holds me in position the entire time I'm doing this. It's even easy to throw the net off the back of the boat because the power pole anchors are down and out of the way when I deploy them. Best part is when I'm done, I can rinse the boat off, raise the power pole anchors, and move on. You know, before power pole, I used to have to drag a muddy anchor rope, chain, and anchor into the boat. Not anymore. Power pole, swift, silent, secure. And that's your power pole tip.
You know, Paige did a really good job with that tip, Brie.
He did.
But, you know, now I think now would be a good time to talk a little bit about Power Pole, the company. And I think the thing that really impresses me, it doesn't matter what product that you buy with them. They make certainly the power poles of several different models, from 4-footers and shallow water spikes, as well as big 10-foot blades and everything in between in a variety of different colors. But then they've also have the charge. And you've seen power pole tips. But what I love about them and what I respect about what John Oliverio's done is he's created a warranty and a service department that is, I mean, it's set the bar for the whole industry.
Yeah.
You pick up the phone, you make a phone call, and somebody answers, and they get right back to you with the problem. And sometimes they can diagnose what the problem is over the phone and help you get your product back to work. Or they can let you know if there's any warranty issue to be done.
That's important to know.
It's the best warranty in the business for sure.
And I don't know how you have a boat without power poles on them. I mean, come on. All right, there's always so many options when it comes to fishing in the Yanmar ASV Keys region. But this week we're all about tuna because, of course, Sarah, we do it for the sushi.
Yes, we love the sushi, my favorite. But I was in shallow water today, which never happens for me, and I was using my power poles.
Yes.
So
nice.
Props for that.
There we go.
And they worked well. I love them too. I have the 10-foot blade, so I have the big daddies on my boat, but they are great.
Why would you have anything less?
I know. You don't really need them for tuna fishing, though. So we go offshore here to catch the tunas. They're out in deep water and on the humps, we call it. So mainly what we catch off the Keys here are blackfin tuna, but we do occasionally catch a rare yellowfin tuna or even a more rare. Those giant bluefin tunas are caught every now and then, but definitely the blackfins are the main. We catch them year-round almost, and they're really, really good to eat. They come in all different size options, like football size up to nice 20, 30-pounders, but big or small, they all taste great. And a lot of people scoff at blackfins like they're not that good to eat. But like Brie said, I personally love blackfin tuna sushi. It's one of the best if you just have to prep it right. Like I'll say, it makes a big difference with the meat quality to bleed the fish as soon as you put it on ice on your boat. Bleed your tunas when you catch them. It keeps them fresher. The meat is better quality. That's just a tip from me if you like to eat sushi. We use live pilchards. Cigar minnows are popular bait with a pen, 65 to 7,500, 30 to 40 pound braid, and a 15-foot long leader with a 4-0 circle hook. That's like a good setup. You can also use vertical jigs and poppers. They're fun. You'll get a workout doing that, though. It doesn't matter what method you catch them by in the end with poppers or live bait. They'll put up a great fight. All you got to do is just reel them in fast and hard before the sharks get them. The sharks like those sushi, too. Here's a photo of Dakota with the first tuna she ever caught. That was just 2 days ago, actually.
Nice.
Oh, what a beautiful picture. All right.
And I literally ate that last night.
All
It's
right.
in my fridge right now. I ate it last night. It was excellent.
Cool. All right, tell us what else you got offshore.
Offshore, too, we've got mahi fishing's getting better and better as we head into the summer season. Just head offshore with your boat and start looking for signs of life around 500 feet deep. You kind of start, they can be in shallower than that, but usually they're 500 or deeper, like out towards the Gulf Stream. So you just want to look for weed lines and debris floating. We found a couple buoys the other day and a piece of rope, just stuff like that. Look for birds diving up and down and bait jumping around. We had some live pilchards that we used the other day, and those mahi didn't even give a head turn to the live pilchards, and they ate some really nasty, stinky chunks of squid. So you don't always have to have live bait to catch quality fish. Like we were using really nasty squid, and they didn't even care about the pilchard the other day. And we caught about a dozen of them, but here's a nice rack of fish caught by the Relentless charter boat. That's not amazing. So they're showing up. We like mahi.
Yep. All right. Well, let's go ahead and head on inshore. What do you got?
Inshore, the tarpon season here in the Keys has been really good. Like, guides are catching tarpon left and right still, and we're well into our summer months. The water's warm. Tarpon are biting. They're really fun fish to catch. They put up a great fight. They pull really hard. They do awesome jumps. Like, they're a really good sport fish. They'll eat many different types of, flies, as well as live and dead bait. So they appeal to a wide variety of anglers, too, which is cool. For bait fishing, we'll use live crabs or mullet, and we fish near the bridges or in the channels where there's good water flow. I always have pictures of people holding up a tarpon or something like that, but if you just come to Bud Mary's or any of the marinas, Robbie's, and look at the water, look at this picture of these are just our resident tarpon that hang out at the marina, and you can just watch them and reach in and touch them. I mean, they're right there. They're really cool to just stare at. They're
all right, you got
strange.
30 seconds on the snook, Sarah.
30 seconds. Okay, snook. Snook love structure. So mangrove islands, creeks, jetties, down trees. The live bait, like live pilchers, are best for them. We use a 10 spin fisher, 3,500, medium light action rod. You'll definitely know when the snook hits your bait. They have a really good bite. They're fun fish to fight. Many of them jump and shake their heads hard, so you'll feel it. Here's a whopper snook caught by angler Steven.
Man, that is a whopper snook with Grandpa Stanzik in the picture there, too.
Papa Stans was in the back.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the great report and following up, clean up for us this week. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport boats, hot spots from the Florida Keys. Our girl says inshore, tarpon have been biting well this past around the bridges and the channels where the water flow is good, and then they're hitting on the outgoing tide using live mullet or the crabs. And then offshore, yellowtail snapper fishing has been good with plenty of fish being caught, anchor in 60 to 90 feet of water with lots of chum and oats, and sand can help as well. Don't forget to fish off the back of your boat and look for the good water movement.
Love having Sarah on the show. All right, let's see what tournaments we have coming up in the Florida Keys, shall we?
Yes.
All right, well, first up is the Don Holly Invitational Tarpon Fly Tournament, where top anglers and their guides fly fish for tarpon for 5 days in Isla Mirada to benefit the Guides Trust Foundation. Then is the Ladies Dolphin Tournament in Tavernier, welcoming female angler teams to fish for the highest aggregate weights of 3 dolphin, fishing to win cash prizes for first through third place teams, plus largest fish. Next, we have the 37th Annual Father's Dolphin Derby and Marathon, with cash and prizes awarded to the top 4 places based on largest dolphin by weight. And last is the VFW Fishing Tournament in Key West, where anglers choose to fish either June 17th or the 18th, but not both, with cash prizes for the heaviest catch of 5 species: mahi, wahoo, tuna, snapper, or grouper. For more information on Keys tournaments, visit flakeys.com.
Man.
We've explored tuna all over the Sunshine State. Now it's time to keep those lines tight and get them to the boat before the taxman takes the first bite. But stay with us to see what we're biting into next week on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Enjoy the water and your single-engine boat even more with the incredible control of Helmmaster EX. This award-winning system features the first single-engine joystick with digital electric steering and new autopilot capability. Helmmaster EX packs the power of world-class control and automation that is changing the single and multi-engine boating experience forever. See Helmmaster EX in action at a Yamaha Outboard dealer or visit YamahaOutboards.com.
All right, next week we are talking wading, so make sure to tune in. But you know what, Rick?
What?
It is your birthday this weekend, and we just want to wish you a very happy birthday from everyone here at the Florida Insider Fishing Report. Birthday to you. We're gonna go through the whole song. But you know what's better than a cookie cake? A whiskey shot.
Oh, I thought you were getting ready to try to
Tin cup. No, I was thinking of it.
you were gonna push my head in that cake,
No.
and I was gonna get you.
All right, everyone, have a great weekend. Rick, happy birthday. That's a full one.
That's a full one.
Yeah, be careful around that fire.
It's your birthday. Blow on it.
Whoosh.
See you guys later.